Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about Netflix's new horror series, The Haunting of Hill House. So The Haunting of Hill House is really an excellent new television series. It's a season of 10 episodes, and it's one contained horror story. There are spoilers for Haunting of Hill House in this content. All right, so let me give a quick summary of what the story was about. So the story is about this family, who a mother and a father who have 5 children. The children are 2 twins, Luke and Nellie, a very antisocial girl who doesn't like to touch people or to be touched. Her name is Theo, and she always wears gloves. And then the eldest brother and sister, which were Shirley and Stephen. Okay, so Shirley and Stephen. So essentially, it's 3 girls and 2 boys, but 2 of them are twins, and the twins are the youngest. Okay, so essentially, So what happens is the family buys Hill House. Now, it looked like they bought Hill House in the early 2000s, right? And so the family goes in, and the kids are all elementary age or just going into junior high, okay? And they're all in that range band. So basically, the parents are house flippers. And so they'll buy a house, fix it up, sell it at a profit, use a large portion of that profit to buy the next house so that they can flip it at a larger price. Now, the problem with this, and they're very good at it, the problem is they're not really saving a lot. They're just rolling all their money into the next house, betting that they're going to be able to get money out of that house at a very high rate. Now, this is important because it explains why the family stayed. It gives the family a very real and practical reason to stay in the house. So one of the biggest problems with the haunted house story is as soon as you realize it's haunted, logically you would leave, right? So you need to invest the people in staying in that house, right? So this gave them a very real reason for it. Also, at the house, there are caretakers. So what happens is, at Hill House, the family moves in and they begin restoring the house, okay? And the way the mother and the father work is that the father does all the demolition and all the construction, and the mother does the design, okay? And so they go to town on this house doing what they can to refurbish it, right? But it becomes very quickly evident that the house is super haunted, okay? So Nellie, the youngest daughter, she starts seeing a woman she calls the bed neck lady, which is this horrific, in Dungeons and Dragons term, it would be like a hag, right? Like almost like a creature, like this woman who is like distorted and old and like degenerated as though she's dead, right? And just kind of hovers around and is super creepy, right? So the parents are like, well, Nellie, you're just having bad dreams. It's not really there. But then the mother starts to sense the same thing, okay? And she starts to actually see ghosts and talk to ghosts, right? The mother does. Theo also begins to see ghosts there in the she senses them, but by feeling cold. She feels like a cold presence, right? Luke begins talking with a little girl named Abigail, okay? Who we, in the story, because there's so many creepy things happening at Hill House, it's presented that Abigail is a figment of Luke's imagination, and that it's like a figure that he's seeing the way the other kids are seeing ghosts. So we assume that Abigail is a ghost as well, right, as the viewer, right? And then last, Stephen senses that there's something wrong in the house, but really has no idea and is not seeing any of the ghosts, okay? The father, again, is also completely oblivious to what's going on in the house and doesn't really sense or interact with these supernatural elements at all, okay? So the mother gets to the point where she's fully in tune with the house, and she's just talking throughout the entire nights with these ghosts of the house. And the ghosts of the house do something really interesting. They tell her, listen, we know the future of your two children, okay? And the future of Nellie and Luke, when they grow up, what's going to happen is Luke is going to become a drug addict, like a super bad heroin addict, right? And his entire life will be spent, which will probably be relatively short. He'll die at about 30 or 35. He's going to spend his entire life just shooting drugs into his veins, right? Nellie, on the other hand, they said Nellie's going to meet the love of her life. She's going to have a beautiful wedding and really be super happy. And then her husband is going to die die very, very quickly. Okay, and then she's going to go sink into a depression so low that she won't be able to contain it, and her depression will just rage out of hand for months on end, right? And she'll be in incredible pain, right? So their lives are going to be kind of fruitless and incredibly sorrowful. But you, the mother, can do something right now. You can go downstairs, grab rat poison, make them some tea, bring them into a special killing room we have in this haunted house, and then you can kill your children and then kill yourself, right? But they don't use the word kill. They're like transition, right? Or, yeah, I think they're like, they can come into this new world, right? So they mask the idea of murder, right? They just call, like, passing on, making it peaceful, embracing a change. Like they kind of, give all these, they say, kill them, kill yourself, but they say it in a lot of nice ways that really don't sound like death, right? So, but the mother also, it's very clear she knows what's going down. She knows, like, she really has a strong sense that she's been told the future and she needs to make a choice, and that she's saying, I'm going to make these choices. I'm going to listen to these ghosts, and I'm going to kill these two children, my own children, and then I'm going to kill myself so that I can keep them safe, and they will never suffer this horrendous life that the ghosts have warned me of, right? And I thought this was a really fascinating, this is probably the most interesting part of, I absolutely, by the way, let me make this super clear. I love this show. It's 5 out of 5 stars for me. I think it's one of the best things Netflix has ever created. And more than anything else, it is a 10-hour horror film, right? And I think that's one of the things that's really becoming fascinating with Netflix, is their ability to make these 10-hour, these 8, 9, 10-hour movies. And I think that's new. We really haven't seen anything like this on television before. This is fantastic film, horror. If you like smart, suspenseful horror, you're going to be hard-pressed to find anything better than Haunting on Hill House. It's incredibly consistent. It's well-constructed. It is self-contained. It is absolutely fantastic. All right, so let me keep moving on this, right? So the mother decides, okay, I'm going to do it. She goes downstairs. She mixes rat poison up, and then she takes Nellie and Luke she goes to Nellie and Luke's room, okay? Now, here's the kicker. She goes to Nellie and Luke's room to say, hey, we're going to have a tea party now, right? But when she gets to Nellie and Luke's room, Luke has asked that his friend Abigail is allowed to sleep over. Both the mother and the father are so distracted in the house. The father because he's trying to fix up the house. The mother because she's constantly talking to ghosts. That they both say, yeah, whatever, bring Abigail over. Because they don't think she's real. They think that she is a figment of Luke's imagination. Well, she actually is real. She is the daughter of the caretakers, okay? So here's what happens. The mother then goes upstairs, right, and mixes up this rat poison tea that's going to kill these children. Takes Abigail, Luke, and Emily, Emily, upstairs, and Nellie, takes Nellie upstairs, and she's given access to the Red Room. The Red Room in Hill House is the most haunted room in the entire building. It will not allow access to anyone. You can't even break it down with a crowbar, right? And you will hurt yourself if you try. But the reality is, the room is like this alternate reality space, like where the most horrible, horrific things that the house does supernaturally happen, right? And so basically, she's allowed access in this. She goes into the room, and at that point, she makes the tea, or actually, she hands the tea over to Nellie, Luke, and Abigail, right? And she only took Abigail because Abigail was there, and if she didn't take Abigail, it would have interrupted her ceremony, essentially, right? So she kind of had to take Abigail. She didn't have to, but she chose to, right? So at that point, Abigail drinks the tea, and Nellie, this is so sad. Luke then thanks his mom for making this tea for them. And the reason why is Nellie is absolutely crazy about tea and always wants to have a tea party. And she's just a little girl, and she's like, I want to have a tea party. Can we please have a tea party? Right? Well, the issue, and everybody, her siblings, everyone says, no, we don't have time for tea parties, right? So when her mother finally says, let's have a tea party, it's just heartbreaking, because this poor little girl, all she's ever wanted is just have this tea party with her brothers and her sisters and her mothers and her fathers, and the only time she ever gets it is when her mom decides to kill her with rat poison. Like, it is heartbreaking. And it also just, human lesson here. If you have blood relatives, right, make sure you're kind to them. Do everything you can possibly do to be as kind as possible to your blood relatives. And if they want to do things that you don't want to do, take the time to do those things. That's got to be the biggest lesson in this whole movie, right? So Abigail drinks the tea, and she dies. Nellie and Luke were literally thanking their mom for the tea ceremony, like the tea, and delay drinking long enough to see Abigail die, and then they don't want to drink it. The father wakes up, runs up, knocks all the tea on the ground, and goes, what are you doing? Realizes that his wife was trying to kill their two youngest children, and actually killed the young daughter of the caretakers, right? He sees the red room because the red room's door is essentially open. So he gets everybody out and is like, we gotta go. Like, this gotta end. And so he sweeps all the kids out into the station wagon, throws them into a station wagon, and then throws them into the station wagon, and then sends them and then runs back into the house to get his wife, because he does love her. He loves his wife deeply. And when he goes in, he finds that she has jumped from the third floor of the atrium and killed herself, right? With the fall, right? So you're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. The caretakers come looking for their daughter Abigail in the middle of the night, find out that the mother has killed Abigail, find out that the mother has killed herself, and that Nellie and Luke were barely saved from her murderous machinations, which were prompted by these super evil ghosts that live in the house, right? And by the way, the ghosts live in the house because a whole bunch of people were murdered and in terrible ways in the house since it was created about 100 years ago, right? So at this point, Abigail, now dead, emerges as a ghost and starts talking to her parents. Her parents then say to the father, they say, listen, you go get your kids and get them the heck out of here, right? We will bury your wife, right? And we'll stay, just go, right? And the thing is, here's what you're going to have to do. You're going to keep this house here forever, okay? And the reason you're going to do that is you're going to keep us on in staff, and you're going to move away and just keep this place maintained. And the reason why you're going to do this is because we want to continue to talk to our ghost daughter, right? So you're going to keep this place open so we can talk to our ghost daughter, right? The father agrees. He drives all the kids away, okay? Then the story jumps forward 15 years, right? And actually, 20 years. And all the kids are grown up. And then we deal with all the kids' ramifications of having lived in this horrendous house and not fully understanding what happened that night. The only person who has full knowledge of what happened that night is the father. The only living person is the father. By the way, the mother still lives as a ghost in the Red Room in Hill House, right? And so basically at that point, what we see happen is everything that the ghost said to the mother about Nellie and Luke comes true. Luke becomes a heroin addict. Nellie marries the love of her life, and he dies in a horrible fast death. And then she goes into a mourning spiral, MORU, and mourning, like mourning the dead. And she goes into the spiral. She has such a terrible time with dealing. She's not able to deal with her depression, and she commits suicide. Right? Nellie's death then brings all the rest of the 20-year-old children. 20 years old, the children who are now 20 years older, it brings them all up into, it brings them completely up into it brings them together for her funeral, okay? And basically what we find is that Stephen has written a book that has completely, what's the best way to describe this? He has written a book that has given his version of what happened on Hill House, right? Well, the reality is his idea of what happened on Hill House is completely wrong. He is 100% wrong about everything, right? And at that point, what ends up happening is he then makes millions of dollars on his incredibly faulty view of all of it, right? And then splits that money with his other siblings, except Shirley, who will not take the money because she considers the money blood money, right? So, and then at that point, what ends up happening is that the father finally tells all of them the truth. The Stephen realizes that he was 100% wrong and ghosts are real, and he becomes the caretaker of Hill House when all of the children have to go back to Hill House to save Luke, their brother, who attempts to burn Hill House to the ground with gasoline. It is truly amazing. The film is fantastic. I've never seen the show is really fantastic. I've really never seen anything like it. I think this is the way you do smart horror. And also, Netflix is just knocking it out of the park. That is just so clear that they are just doing a fantastic job with everything that they're working on, to deliver this very unique and special, horror series. So if you haven't seen Haunting on Hill House and you like smart, suspenseful horror, you're not going to do better than Hill House. That's my take and my review. Thank you. Take care.